made me cringe when I heard theists trying to justify all the human suffering that's going on.
If I did this movie, the same movie you are watching now, 2 years ago, I would begin by explaining to Christina what we as Christians really believe. Today, I know as a fact that atheists do not really care about that, but what they seem to be interested in is to convert people by deception to atheism. And that is to convince people that the Bible, the Quran, the Tanakh says things that we could not actually find in those books. And also that the Christian, the Muslim, and so on, they believe in things they actually don't. And this is a very interesting problem at a cognitive level, and that is when an atheist is realizing that when he is speaking against religion, he is using one or two lies. In most cases, the atheist, he will conclude that in this case, in this particular case, it is better to spread a lie if that lie will put religion and religious people in a bad position, and if that lie will bring people closer to atheism. Basically, they will conclude that the evil brought by spreading a lie, it is more than the possible good brought by saving people from religion. And of course I have a problem with this whole theory, because if an atheist will say today a lie and another atheist will say tomorrow another lie, we will end up sooner or later with this entire atheist mythology and with a lot of people becoming atheists for the wrong reasons. Now, because the atheist that I am addressing this video, she is on YouTube for more than 2 years, I'm going to exclude the possibility that she doesn't know what she is talking about, and I'm going to assume that she is lying with the intention to promote atheism. So, in place of explaining to Christina how things really are with Christianity, I'm just going to expose her method. Okay, so Christina's entire video is based on the theodicy argument, and to impose her point of view, she is using several logical fallacies from an appeal to emotion type. And now on the screen you're going to see a list with logical fallacies that Christina is using at one point or another in her video in order to achieve her goal, and that is to convert you to atheism, and why not to give money to some atheists. Now, there are several problems with the argument from evil, and in my opinion the main one is that this argument is tuned for Western ears. It is made for a Western audience. What I mean is that this argument, it is applicable only if it is used to an audience from the West, especially from USA, Canada or England. Because only people in the West they are raised to live their lives, and that the purpose of this earthly life is personal enjoyment. So it is said that this argument could work against some form of Christianity, such as Calvinism, but could not work against others, such as Catholicism. Also, the argument could work against some religions, but could not work against others. And now we are going to talk about some things that some atheists just do not want to hear. Now, for a logical argument against God to could be considered, that argument must address more than just one or two religions. Because how some atheists already showed, if all claims made by all religions ever will end up being false, it may still be the case that a God could exist. So in these conditions, imagine how stupid is an argument against God who would work only against one or two denominations of Christianity. So from all religions, this argument could work against just one or two denominations of Christianity. And that is because only one or two forms of Western Christianity, they assume that we are here on this planet to enjoy ourselves, and that the purpose of human existence is personal happiness. Now I would say that for an argument from evil to could be coherent, the premise of this argument must show how the possibility of an evil god or the possibility of an indifferent god were eliminated. Now, if the atheist is taking his concept of God from Christianity, then we have two serious problems. First, is he really an atheist or just someone who doesn't believe in the Christian God? Second, if he is putting all this energy to deny the Christian God, that would not mean that he is in the same time letting a door open for some other type of God, such as the God of Voltaire. The most intriguing problem of the argument from evil is the morality itself. I mean, from where the atheist is taking his morality. Now, the atheist is assuming that if a God would exist, that God would necessarily help the humans to have these wonderful lives. But who says that? The religion doesn't say it for sure. So who does? So if Christina here, she is using with dexterity some ideas and she is making fun of some others, this does not really mean anything for the argument. Because this is what we are interested in. We are interested in the argument, indifferent if the case is presented by a lawyer or a buffoon. And just for the sake of the argument, I'm going to exclude for now the upper to ridicule or the upper to mockery from the Christina video. Now in her video, Christina is using a form of argumentum ad consequentiam. Even if it's difficult to observe, she is implying that religion is false because religions lead to undesirable consequences, so therefore it must be false, so atheist must be true.
But instead he made all these wonderful creatures all around the earth, adapted to different environments with very different appearances and traits and behavior, and made them eat each other. What would be the purpose of that?
So if a God would exist, he would not allow pointless suffering, but pointless suffering exists, so it must be the case for atheism.
Evolution can explain all this very well, but God? What's his excuse?
And now we are going to see something that would sound like an argumentum ad metum or an argument from fear.
The point is that if this is indeed the result of an intelligent mind, who created all these complex little horrors with intention, then this just has to be God's version of dark comedy.
I must recognize that this video is amazing. I mean, in this video all the possible types of fallacy and appeal to emotion are used. I mean, each and every one. Sexuality, pity, anger, it's amazing.
Take the concept of parasites, for instance. This ant here has been infested with spores from a parasitic fungus that has infiltrated his brain. This is basically a zombie ant. After it dies, the fungus will start growing from inside its head and then infect all the other ants that happen to be near it. I gave this example with the ant just because I don't want to disturb you with images of what parasites can do to baby deers or something cute like that.
Christina has shown that she is capable of using some logical fallacies in order to promote atheism. So?
And most importantly, why enable them with the capacity of feeling pain? Some of them spending their entire lives running, trying to avoid being eaten alive, and the others having to spend their life running after their prey and fighting each other for it.
And now I'm going to do what Christina doesn't really like, and that is I'm going to explain the existence of evil. But first, we must learn to make a difference between to explain and to justify, two different words.
It always made me cringe when I heard theists trying to justify all the human suffering that's going on. Theists trying to justify all the human suffering that's going on. To justify.
So that will mean if a historian is trying to explain the Nazism or the communist phenomenon, he's actually trying to justify the argument from evil. So we believe there is a God, but if we look around, we could also see that there is a lot of evil in this world. So that would lead us to only one possible conclusion, that God allows evil. which would lead us with the first atheist objection. Why would a good and powerful God allow so much evil? And the answer is very simple. All good and powerful God would allow evil if he would have a good reason for it. Of course, now, if the atheist in question is very stupid, to this answer he's going to have a very serious objection, something like, okay, so what is that purpose? And here it's where we must go deeper into philosophy. Christina has always claimed that she is from Romania. She has also claimed that she is from the Bruja area. So let's try a little exercise of logic. So let's suppose that me and the atheist Christina, we walk on the Dobruja beach. Okay, so my English is not very good. So when I say beach, I mean beach as this yellow thing, and not beach as referring to this blonde thing. Okay, it's important to remember this. Okay, so I'm with this beach on the beach. I mean I am with Christina on the beach, where we find a potsherd. And I look at it, and as a historian who I know the basic of the history of this part of Europe, I will say that this potsherd belonged to the Hamangia culture, or to the Cucuten culture. So now is the interesting part. Now if a person next to me is not an atheist, he would simply go like, oh, that's interesting, or that's nice information. But Christina is an atheist, so she would probably go something like this. Haha, but could you explain the origin of the Cucuten culture? And probably my answer would be something like, no, I don't know the origin of that culture, but I don't need to know it, because if I am able to explain a cause, I don't need to find the origin of that cause also. So the pot origin is the Hamangia culture. This is a perfectly logical statement, and I don't need to prove the origin of this culture to back my statement. It's enough to say the pot origin is the Hamangia culture or is the Cucuten culture. I don't need to prove if this culture originated in Africa or in Asia. This is an entire different field of science, and I don't need to prove it. It's enough if I say the origin is that culture. So the final conclusion that we need to remember is that if we are able to show a cause, we don't need to prove the origin of that cause also. So it would be a perfectly logical statement to say that I believe in God, and when I see the evil around me, I conclude that God has a purpose to allow this evil without knowing what is that purpose. So I believe that God has a purpose without knowing what is that purpose.
With the original sin, you know that God punished us for Adam and Eve. But I have never, ever heard the justification for all the suffering of the non-human creatures. I mean, what the shit did they do? I just have to conclude that God made everything like this because he has a perfectly good logical explanation for it. So now, let's try and see if the argument from Ridiculum could go against atheists too. Just look at the male genitalia. 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 I didn't actually mean to look at it now, you perverts. But really, why put it on the outside of the body if not to make fun of you?
And now I'm going to criticize Christina's views on music. I mean, why does she hate Christian music?
As a bit of a side note, don't you find it a little bit ironic that all these bands that play religious-inspired music are just so goddamn awful? I mean, imagine spending eternity in heaven listening to Agni partene despina agrande Theotoke infianim fefte partene litirana panendrosete poke infianim fefte ipsilon terra ora
Now let's make some comparison between the Christian music and the atheist music.
This is a song about Zomgitscriss. Lord save her, she's an atheist. I really wanted to accept the Messiah so we could be together, because nobody's flyer than Chris. And speaking of which, Christina comes from Christian. To convert you is our only mission, and to marry you and live in eternal bliss.
Let me break it down, Zomgitscriss, you better listen.
By logic and reason you are bound.
You're the prodigal daughter, you were lost but now you're found. Take a look, take a look, take a look at the holy book. When you feel it, the Holy Spirit, your foundation will get shook.
Fire then, Chris. No lie. We're trying to calm down. Fire then, Chris. Hey, Mark. Great song. You too, Paul. Fire then, Chris. Hey, Mark. Great song.
You too, Paul.
I've been meaning to ask you, what's that weird crap on you?
We can do it.
Fire then, Chris. Hey, Paul. Fire then, Chris. Hey, Paul. Fire then, Chris. Hey, Paul, great song.
You too, Mark.
Keep going, just do it. Hey, Mark, great song.
You too, Paul.
I've been meaning to ask you, what's that weird thing on your lip? Why are you looking over there?
I don't want to look you in the face.
Fire then, Chris.
And now, as a final conclusion, we are going to see how some atheists could formulate a double strawman argument, and that is, when an atheist is making a new argument based on the old argument from evil, and this new argument is based on two false premises. Premise 1, that God created the universe in order to be perfect as his master plan, and premise 2, that life was created in order for every creature to achieve personal happiness. And the logical conclusion of these two false premises is that Theism is false and Atheism is true. Now, to explain why these two premises are false, I will probably need a whole other video. But here the problem lies with the atheist, because if he does not realize why these two premises are wrong, that would probably mean that he doesn't really know what he is talking about, and he never really analyzed the theist argument.
Bye.